Today on Inquirer, Sandiganbayan junks ill-gotten wealth case against former President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. and others. Philippines, Australia eye joint maritime patrol in South China Sea. After China laser incident, United States says attack on Philippine vessels would trigger mutual defense treaty. And Philippine senators and members of the European Parliament meet. Resolution defending former President Rodrigo Duterte from International Criminal Court raised.
The discussion was so intense that I cannot live. I have to defend our sovereignty.
Former First Lady Imelda Marcos and others. To tell us more, here's Jean Mangaluz reporting live. Jean, on what grounds did the Sandiganbayan junk the case?
Well, Neil, the Sandiganbayan 5th Division junked another one of Marcos Sr.'s ill-gotten wealth case on the grounds of the prosecution failing to present sufficient evidence. Other than Marcos Sr. and his wife Imelda, others accused were Peter Sabido, Luis Yulo, Nicolas De Haza, Don Ferry, and Rafael Sison. In the 156-page decision, which was promulgated on February 21, it explained that the case was dismissed for failure of the plaintiff to prove by preponderance of evidence that the material allegations contained in the amended complaint. The decision went on to say that the weakness of the defense is not enough and that the prosecution should have presented stronger evidence. The wealth in question for this case is the Busunga properties in Palawan. This is not the first among Marcos Sr.'s ill-gotten wealth case to be dismissed. In October 2019, the Sandiganbayan 2nd Division junked attempts to recover 1 billion pesos worth of art, property, and investments from the Marcos family. That's it from me, Neil. Back to you.
That's Jean Mangaluz reporting live. The United States Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and the third says a further escalation in the contested waters of South China Sea would trigger the mutual defense treaty between the Philippines and the U.S. Our defense reporter John Eric Mendoza fills us in with the details. Eric, what specific instances would trigger the mutual defense treaty between the Philippines and the U.S.?
Yes, Neil, an armed attack on the Philippine vessels in South China Sea, including the West Philippine Sea, would trigger the country's mutual defense treaty with the United States. The U.S. Defense Department on Wednesday said Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin III made the pronouncement after speaking with Defense Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. on Tuesday. Austin and Galvez conducted a bilateral meeting after the February 6 incident when a Chinese Coast Guard flashed a green military-grade laser towards the PRP Malapascua of the Philippine Coast Guard. PRP Malapascua was supporting irrigation and supply mission of the Philippine Navy in Ayungin Shoal in the West Philippine Sea when the incident happened. The laser attack caused temporary blindness on the crew of PRP Malapascua. According to the U.S. Defense Department, Austin vowed that an armed attack on the Philippine Armed Forces, aircraft, and public vessels, including those of its Coast Guard, would invoke U.S. mutual defense commitment. Signed by the two parties on August 13, 1951, the MDT states that both countries will support each other if an external party attacks either the Philippines or the United States. But for retired Supreme Court Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio, the incident constitutes an armed attack, which in turn could already enable the MDT between the U.S. and the Philippines. China claims almost all of the South China Sea, including the West Philippine Sea. But in 2016, the United Nations-backed Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague invalidated China's claim to almost the entire South China Sea. Neil?
That's John Eric Mendoza reporting live. The Philippines and Australia are looking into joint maritime patrols in the South China Sea, which includes the West Philippine Sea. This comes after the bilateral meeting between the Defense Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. and Australian Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles. Marles is also the concurrent Defense Minister of Australia. In a press conference, Marl says the Philippines and Australia are looking for ways to pursue joint patrols together in the South China Sea. Galvez echoes Marl's pronouncements, saying both the Philippines and Australia seek to expand their bilateral training beyond their armies. Marls also notes that the stability in the South China Sea is of importance to Australia, since most of the country's trade traverses the waters. Tensions continue to hound the South China Sea, with China claiming almost the entire area, including the West Philippine Sea. The United Nations-backed Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague invalidated in 2016 China's claim to almost the entire South China Sea. Next on Inquirer Today, Philippine senators and members of the European Parliament meet. Resolution defending former President Rodrigo Duterte from International Criminal Court raised.
The discussion was so intense that I cannot live. I have to defend our sovereignty.
And President Bongbong Marcos orders abolition of Department of Finance's one-stop shop tax credit center. This Inquirer Today will be back shortly.
Ako si Eloise Jill Cadilo. Currently, student ako sa UP, pero at the same time, nagtatattoo ako sa Sining Tinta. Personally, na nagpapatattoo ako, hindi ako ganun ka-comfortable doon. So, naisip ko, lahat ng hindi ako comfortable with, iibahin ko siya. Light lang yung curation ng space para hindi ka natatakot pag nagpapatattoo ka, lalo na masakit kasi magpatattoo. Nag-start ako mag-tattoo, hindi dahil gusto ko mag-tattoo. Dahil gusto kong kumuha ng tattoo. Pero at the same time, hindi ko afford yung artist na gusto ko. So parang inisip ko, bakit hindi na lang ako magpaturo sa previous tattoo artist ko. Tapos i-design ko yung tattoo ko and then ako gagawa sa sarili ko. Tapos from there, yung una kong natatuan ay yung sarili ko din. So mas naramdaman ko yung difference sa practice skin and sa skin nung ginagawa ko na sa sarili ko. Nagtatattoo lang ako sa apartment namin sa Kamuning. Tapos, marami na din kasi akong friends nagpapatattoo nun. Tapos at the same time, yung friends nila, gano'n. Hindi kaya ng space ko kasi sobrang liit lang talaga nun. Tapos mainit. Tapos, ayun, lumaki na lang siya kasi nung nag-start akong mag-tattoo, somehow may na-meet akong mga other women artists. Tapos doon namin nabuo na parang women's space talaga siya. Gano'n. Sining Tinta, kapag English, ink art, gano'n. Yung pinaka-tagline kasi is malaya at mapagpalayang sining. Tapos, at the same time, yung artists ay puro women. Kasi marami sa clients ko previously, nagkukwento na they don't feel safe kapag puro male yung artists nila, gano'n. May ganong stories. I want to take that scare away, gano'n, yung that intimidation. And the only way na I can do it is if we strictly create a space na women artists lang din talaga. Future, we want to be able to expand this industry na mas maging accepting siya sa women artists na gusto pumasok sa pagtatattoo. Tapos, at the same time, sa mga clients namin, we want to break stereotypes. Makakapasok ka sa mga work institutions na may tattoo ka, gano'n. Tapos, hindi ka madidiscriminate for it or walang notion of yung usual na iniisip nila na madumi yung balat mo. Mas accepting yung society sa people with tattoos and people who engaged in tattoos and piercings.
Senator Ronald Bato Dela Rosa says the meeting between some Philippine senators and members of the European Parliament on Wednesday got so intense when the issue of a resolution defending former President Rodrigo Duterte from the International Criminal Court was raised. Dela Rosa was present during the meeting held at the Philippine Senate. The senator says the discussion was so intense that he could not leave. He ended up arriving late in another hearing in the chamber. Dela Rosa recounts how one EU Parliament member was angry about Senator Jinggoy Estrada sponsoring and authoring a resolution protecting former President Rodrigo Duterte from the ICC probe.
The discussion was so intense that I cannot leave. I have to defend our sovereignty. Nag-react siya, medyo tumaas yung boses niya. Sinagot ko naman siya. I told him, you know, my good friend, Honorable Spaniard, you know, the Philippines was conquered, ruled, enslaved by the Spaniards for more than 3 centuries, for over 300 years. And now that we have gained our freedom, we have our own sovereignty as a nation, we hope that other countries would respect our sovereignty as a nation.
President Bongbong Marcos orders the abolition of the Department of Finance's one-stop shop interagency tax credit and duty drawback center as his administration pushes for right-sizing in government. The one-stop shop center's functions of processing and issuing tax clearance certificates and duty drawbacks will be transferred to the Bureau of Internal Revenue and Bureau of Customs, respectively. This is effective under Administrative Order No. 4, which was signed by Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin on February 20 and released on Wednesday. According to the Presidential Communications Office, DOF Secretary Benjamin Jokno recommended to the President the abolition of the One-Stop Shop Center. Among the reasons for Jokno's recommendation was the series of tax credit scams committed by the agency's officials and employees involving billions of pesos over the years. Alamin naman natin ang mainit na balita sa mundo ng showbiz kasama si Irvin Santiago ng Bandera. Irvin?
Hi Neil at sa lahat ng mga kabandera natin all over the universe. Ito na nga ang latest Bandera Chika. Excited na ang veteran TV host comedian na si Jono Gibbs na maging lolo. Lalong pangat ikinasal na ang kanyang panganay na anak na si Alisa Gibbs sa non-showbiz partner nito ilang buwan na ngayon ang nakararaan. Matagal na raw gustong magkaapo ni Jono dahil mahilig daw talaga siya sa mga bata, lalo na kapag nakikipaglaro siya sa mga ito. Pero say ng komedyante, never daw niyang pinressure ang kanyang mga anak na mabigyan siya ng apo. Maghihintay lang daw siya kung kailan magiging handa ang kanyang panganay na si Alisa at ang mister nito na maging parents dahil ayaw naman niyang diktahan ang mag-asawa.
Very emotional kami. Maging mag-ama, mag-iina, sibling. But ang hindi alam ng marami, yung lalaki kasi, yung napangasawa niya, kasi mga more than 5 years na namin kasama, 10 years. So yung relationship nila, so hindi na bago, hindi na siya bago sa amin. Family na siya bago pa sila ikasal.
Pero hindi pa, wala pa namang...
Wala pa.
Pero excited ka maging lolo dyan?
Oo naman, syempre naman. Pero ayoko, alam kong nakakainis yung nagpe-pressure eh.
Samantala, payag na payag din si Jono kung sakaling kunin uli siyang maging co-host sa Kapuso Noon Time Show na Itbulaga. Miss na nga raw niya ang mga Dabar Cards, lalo na ang iconic trio na sina Tito Sen, Bossing Vic at Joey De Leon. Say pa ni Jono, game na game siya uling maging host ng longest running noontime program sa Pilipinas.
When I left Bulaga, sinabi ko naman kay Mr. G, Mr. Tubera, sabi ko, sure, anytime you need me, pag kailangan nyo na ako. As of now, marami pa naman sila. Sila, malakas pa sila, Tito Big and Joey. So, but anytime na kailangan nila ako.
Miss mo na.
Oh, miss ko na.
At yan ang Bandera Chika natin today. Thanks, Neil.
Maraming salamat, Irvin. And these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Catch Inquirer Today live weekdays at 6 p.m. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.